After more than 6 years, Sonos has finally replaced their most successful speaker to date, the Sonos One, with the Era 100. This is a speaker that is bigger in almost every way. So is it any good? Well, here we're going to go through its features, its design, do the all-important sound test, and finally give you my verdict on whether it's worth buying. And I can answer that last one already, because it's yes and no, because it depends. Let's just get into it. If there's one thing that Sonos do well, it's design. They're like the Apple of the speaker world, and the Era 100 is no exception. It is wonderfully crafted. The outside of the Era 100 is almost completely wrapped in an all-metal grille, which looks great and also makes it hard wearing too, unlike speakers that might be covered in a fabric cloth. On the top of the speaker, there are touch-sensitive buttons for playing and pausing your music, skipping tracks forwards and backwards, as well as increasing and decreasing the volume. In a new feature for Sonos speakers, there is also a volume slider that allows you to quickly change the volume with just the slide of your fingers. There is also a mic mute button with the holes for the far-field microphones on top as well. Moving around to the rear of the speaker, we have a Bluetooth pairing button as Sonos finally brings Bluetooth connectivity to their mains powered speakers. There's a mic mute switch, but unlike the mute button on the top of the speaker, this is a hard switch that physically turns the power off from the microphone, which is great for those of you that want the assurance that the mic is definitely off. And finally at the bottom we have a USB-C port. We'll get to what that's used for in a bit. Size wise, these are great compact speakers and are a little over 7 inches tall and 4.7 inches wide. Despite its small size, it's still pretty heavy at 4.4 pounds or just 2 kilos, so there's plenty of heft and weight to this. If you compare the Era 100 to the now replaced Sonos One and an Amazon Echo, you'll see that the Era 100 is definitely taller, but it still takes up about the same footprint as the other two, so you'll easily be able to install this almost anywhere. This speaker is predominantly designed to be connected over your Wi-Fi, and so not only has Wi-Fi support, but also has Wi-Fi 6 support, which should give you a stronger and more stable connection, even on a congested network. As well as Wi-Fi, Sonos has also added Bluetooth support to the Era 100. Now this is a feature that many have been asking for from Sonos for years. Now you will get better audio over the Wi-Fi connection rather than Bluetooth, but it's good to have the convenience of Bluetooth as you'll be able to stream music to these speakers from any Bluetooth device like your mobile phone, tablet or laptop without having to install and use the Sonos app. The USB-C port at the back of the speakers allows you to also plug any external audio source like a turntable into this speaker via a 3.5mm audio jack, as well as connect over a wired Ethernet connection. However, there's a catch, as you have to buy either a $20 or $40 USB-C adapter to use each. Now I get why Sonos didn't add these with the speaker in the box, as I don't think it's a common feature that many will use, and so keeps the cost down for most people. But if you do want to use either, then it's an extra cost you need to be aware of. As this is a smart speaker, it supports 2 voice assistants, Sonos Voice Control and Amazon Alexa. However, setting up either of these wasn't super straightforward. Sonos Voice Control had issues with linking to my Spotify account. Hey Sonos, play music on Spotify.
Sorry, Sonos Voice Control isn't available for Spotify yet.
Officially, it doesn't support Spotify yet, so Sonos Voice Control is definitely in its early days as a voice assistant and has a bit of catching up to do compared to the main players. Alexa wasn't without issues either though, as during setup it wasn't linking to my Sonos account properly, so I had to disable and enable the Sonos skill in the Amazon Alexa app on my phone before that would work properly. So it's not as simple as everyone seems to be making out, but once it is set up, then it's all good to go. The mic pickup on these speakers is really good, as it can easily hear you over background noise and music. However, the mic is less and more responsive depending on the voice assistant that you pick. Use Sonos Voice Control and you really have to speak up to be heard, whilst with Alexa you can be speaking up with barely a whisper and the speaker picks you up. There's no way to change the sensitivity threshold of either, so it's just something to be mindful of. Out of the two, Alexa is the more mature and complete voice assistant, so if you're looking for a whole house solution, then it is the better option. But I'm loving what Sonos are trying to do with their voice control though, by just providing an assistant that controls music and nothing else. The glaring omission here though is Google Assistant support. There is no mention of Google Assistant being available at launch, or even that it will be coming in an update. Now I think this is down to the big legal issues that are going on between Sonos and Google, as one sues and countersues the other over patent and licensing issues, and that's been going on for seemingly years now, so honestly it's not really a surprise, but it's disappointing as Google Assistant is probably the best voice assistant out there. And if you don't want to use any voice assistant, then you can also stream music to these speakers using Apple AirPlay 2. As well as being controlled by your voice, the speaker can also be controlled via the Sonos mobile app, which serves as an amalgamator and can connect to almost 100 different music services, from Spotify to Amazon Music to YouTube Music, Tidal, Deezer, to name just a few. It is one of the most mature music streaming apps out there. And if you have more than one Sonos speaker, you can also use it to play to multiple speakers at the same time. So you could control all the speakers around your house using this one app. You can also change how your speaker sounds by jumping into the EQ settings in the app to alter the bass, the treble and the loudness toggle, as well as do firmware updates for your speakers. Diving into the hardware specs of the speakers, and here we have two tweeters dedicated to the high frequencies. Now these are angled outwards so as to give you a rich left and right stereo experience according to Sonos. Whether or not it actually achieves this, we'll cover it in the sound test in a bit. There is also a woofer here which is dedicated to the lower frequencies, and it is 25% bigger than the one on the Sonos One. And powering all of that are three Class D digital amplifiers. There are also what Sonos call waveguides built into the speaker grille that they say aims to create a wider soundstage. Again, whether that makes a difference, we'll cover in the sound test shortly. Now, all Sonos speakers are equipped with TruePlay, which uses your phone to optimize the sound for the acoustics of your room, and doing it definitely improves the sound of these speakers. Previously, this has only been available to iPhone users, however TruePlay is now available for all users, which is great. But there's a catch, because there's now two TruePlay modes. There's Quick Tune, which uses the internal mics on the speaker to measure the room, and that only takes a few seconds. And so you don't even need a mobile phone for this, as the calibration is being done by the mics in the speaker itself. However, Sonos themselves have said that you'll get better results if you use the advanced tuning option, and this is the traditional TruePlay method that uses the phone and the speaker itself, and unfortunately it's iPhone only. So yes, everyone gets TruePlay, kind of, but it's still better than nothing, as in testing there definitely is a benefit in doing this even with the quick tuning option. When I moved the Era 100 from a small to a large room, I noticed a definite improvement after quick tuning, so I definitely recommend doing it if you're going to move the speaker to a different room, or even if you're going to move it to a different location in the same room. Now I'll give you my thoughts on this speaker after the sound test so that you can hear it for yourself first. As with any recording though, do bear in mind that when you're listening to this, you are listening through your speakers of a YouTube recording of my mic recording these speakers, so it's not going to sound as good as though you were in the same room with me, but hopefully it gives you a good taste and introduction to it. So what did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. For me, when I test speakers, most speakers seem to either bias the bass, so there's lots of thumpy bass, or they bias clarity, so there's more clarity in the higher frequencies, but at the cost of bass. However, this speaker does both. There is plenty of bass in this speaker, especially for its size, and I'd say even for speakers considerably larger than it. But it's good bass as well. There's plenty of weight and presence to it, but it's controlled and not woolly. It's clear and definitive. On the other side of the equation, those two tweeters make sure that vocals are clear and well heard over that bass. Does it sound stereo though? Well, no, not really. Yes, there's two tweeters, and there is some stereo separation if you listen closely, but those tweeters are so close together you don't really get a sense of good stereo. A single speaker just can't beat a pair of speakers for stereo separation. Now, in what is probably a combination of the pair of tweeters and waveguides in the speaker grille, there is definitely a wider soundstage on this compared to their previous speakers. It sounds as though the sound is coming from the general direction of the speaker rather than exactly from it, so it creates a wall of sound rather than a point of sound. It is room-filling sound that just sounds great. Now, as well as operating as a single speaker, this can also be paired up with other Sonos speakers. You can pair it up with another Era 100 for true stereo pairing, which will give you much better stereo separation than one on its own. That's well worth considering as an alternative to, say, a single Era 300, which is their larger speaker that they've also just released, as 2 Era 100s cost about the same price as 1 Era 300. You can also pair up the 100s as a pair of rear surround sound speakers for their soundbars, like the Ray, the Beam or the Arc, and then even add an optional subwoofer, like the new Sub Mini, for a full surround sound system. And that's one of the great things about the Sonos ecosystem, as you can slowly build up your setup over time. So back to the question at the very start of this video, should you buy it? Well, if you're after great sound with lots of connection options all wrapped up in a solid, well-designed compact package, then you really can't go wrong with the Sonos Era 100. It really is a great speaker. Unless you're wed to the Google Assistant ecosystem, that is. Having said that, Alexa works great, Sonos voice control is getting better, and you can still control what's playing on your speaker from the Sonos app, Spotify, or pretty much any other music streaming app you're using, so it's not a loss that I think most people will notice. The Sonos Era 100 is available in black or white and retails for $249 US. I will place product links for it in the description down below, so you can go check it out for yourself. Should you upgrade if you have the Sonos One? Well, I think that's probably a whole video in and of itself, so if it is something that you're interested in, let me know in the comments down below, and if enough people ask for it, I'll go make it for you. I hope this video has helped you decide if the Era 100 is the right speaker for you. If you'd want to consider maybe a soundbar instead of the Era 100, then be sure to check out the link up here. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.